Thanks for joining.
I'm Reese.
I'm Joe. You're listening to Poly by Nature,
the podcast where you can have your cake and eat it too. Today's topic is inspired by our Instagram DMs. People who are in monogamous relationships who have decided to make that change or transition to polyamory. People who are currently in a relationship, a monogamous relationship, or also we get messages from people who have just recently made that transition. They're like, we just started our journey and, we're going through the typical ups and downs.
Right. So this episode is about talking about that journey for us?
No.
Like, because at one point we were at that beginning stage.
Well, yeah, we did. We have an episode called The Evolution of Our Polyamorous Relationship, something like that.
We'll go back and fix that.
I'll put it, it'll be recommended at the end of this video. But words of advice.
Yeah.
And what would we say to those people who are considering a different relationship dynamic?
Right. Because when someone asks me, or us as a whole, hey, should we think about or entertain the idea of poly? I immediately just go, don't do it, right? Out of a subjective way of saying, like, don't do it unless you're ready to actually commit to those true steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I initially tell people don't do it. And, it's like telling somebody not to do something is a way of saying, okay, show me why you should do it, or like prove to me, like, hey, I want somebody to come back and go, hey, you told me not to do it, but we did it anyways. And
exactly, because you didn't consult any, like, nobody needs permission.
No.
If you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
You're going to do what you want to do.
And before we get into the discussion, let's say that we are not experts. We speak from experience. This episode, if you are in a relationship, great. But even if you're not in a relationship and you're considering polyamory, you can still take some of the things that we say and apply it to yourself.
Right.
And if you're just someone watching because you have friends or family that are polyamorous and you just want to understand it more, welcome.
No expert, but we know what we're talking about. We've lived it, so we can talk about it. So let's dive into this.
Yes, I wanted to start with, you're considering it. So what questions should you ask yourself when you're making that decision? Yes, I want to do this.
Is it individual questions? Because here's the thing. There's going to be questions that I'd ask myself if I wasn't in a relationship. And there's questions I'm going to ask myself if I am in a relationship.
We're talking from relationship.
From a relationship standpoint, is it just for me? Am I doing this because I seen something and it looked glorified and I'm like, oh, I want to try that? Or am I doing it because I'm saying, hey, this actually fits what I feel I should be doing in life?
Right. And that's both partners asking themselves that.
Correct.
So asking yourself, am I doing this because my partner asked me to? Am I doing this to make my partner happy? Am I just going with it? Or is this something that I can really see working for me? Because
one of the biggest ones I would say is, am I doing it to save our relationship? Am I sacrificing what I may feel isn't right? Or am I sacrificing something to save a relationship? If my partner comes to me and says, hey, we should be poly because I've been cheating. Or we should be poly because I can't stay faithful. Or we should be poly.
Right. Being polyamorous will not fix your relationship.
Right. If your foundation in the relationship, monogamous or poly, whatever you are, isn't solid, then poly doesn't actually make it better. It actually probably makes it worse.
Because it's going to expose all of those issues and insecurities that you have.
Yeah.
And put you in situations where they just shine.
Your biggest fear will be your biggest exploit in poly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like everything that you thought was like secretive or hidden, or feelings that you didn't want to just expose, or things like that, are the things that actually shine and show the biggest in your relationship.
So the first question was, why am I doing this? The second question was, are we trying to patch our relationship or fix our relationship by doing this?
I think that a lot of poly relationships that I've seen and were introduced to, and like people were poly, a lot of it did start off at infidelity standpoints. A lot of it started off with we were broken and this kind of gave us a fix. I can't say that it always worked for everyone, but it definitely, there's an opportunity there if you have a broken relationship. If the end goal is solved by being poly, then I can see how coming into a relationship and saying, okay, hey, maybe we should be poly based on the fact of the matter, we both like outside friends, we both like outside influences, we both are looking for something more than we're seeing here.
So when it comes to relationship, if the monogamous relationship issue is that you need more,
Or
you need connections, you need friendship, you need companionship,
yeah,
you know, then yes,
yeah,
it may be a positive solution.
correct. But if you're just like, oh, he or she is out just cheating, so I might as well just say, do that, but let's be in the relationship and
Mhm.
call it poly, then
Correct.
that's not going to work.
So another question I had was for the couple to ask themselves, will we be openly polyamorous or non-monogamous? Like, is this something that we're sharing? Are we keeping it on the low? Like,
Yeah,
is this going to affect my job?
right. I mean, there's a lot of fear of that with us when we first started into the poly world of how do we say
You know,
who we are.
yeah,
And
I don't think it was so much fear.
I think it was a judgment idea for me. I mean, I
Yeah.
work in a corporate world, so it's a
Okay.
very real scenario of saying, being exposed or someone
Mhm.
saying, wait a minute, your private life is being, exposed in your
Mhm.
public world. So how does that affect you on a corporate world? I mean, there's some situations in there where there's probably, and I know there's probably people who don't express that they're poly in public and are poly in private. That's a hard P to say, which I can respect because not everything is for everyone.
Exactly.
We chose to kind of say, you know what, it is what it is. We're going to talk about our lives and kind of put it out there and kind of give a guide to what we have gone through
Mhm.
and be able to answer questions like this and say, all right, is poly right for us? And how did you guys get to this point right now?
Another one is
Another one.
another one. Will there be a hierarchy type setup to our relationship? So, what I mean by that is if you're coming in as a couple, there's already things in place that kind of facilitate a hierarchy.
Right.
You know, if you're sharing finances, you're sharing a home, you have kids, shared activities, whatever the case may be, you already kind of have a primary setup going on.
Right.
But I guess the question is, will that relationship have precedence over another? Will that partner be able to have a say in your other relationships? So, how much are you considering that relationship when it comes to the other decisions that you're making?
We had this conversation earlier this morning, just kind of talking about hierarchy
Mhm.
and how I feel like if you're a relationship together and you're bringing someone in, I think it's next to impossible for that person to feel as even on the same level as your primary partner. You
Mhm.
don't like the term secondary partner or somebody second because nobody wants that term. Oh, I'm a secondary partner. But if there's been foundation and growth in this life that has already been established,
Yes.
somebody coming in, it's you look at that and say, well, you guys are already established. I'm just the outsider trying to get in. And even when they get in, they're still
Well, there's get in.
well, like get in as in like, okay,
Because who's to say that they're even dating as a couple? Like you dating separately, that person's still separate from everything.
right, but that person is still naturally, everyone compares themselves in some ways to certain situations. So can someone who's dating me look at you and say, okay, I will never get to reach this level of what she gets from Joe. And I may never get to that companionship or that time that she
Well,
gets from
here's
Joe.
the thing. Even in a monogamous relationship, you're not just going to meet someone and automatically elevate them up to the highest status.
No,
It takes time, it
correct.
takes experience, it takes building trust and all those things that go into a relationship. So when you're in a poly relationship, you still have to go through those steps with that other person. So
Mhm.
you can't just elevate them up to the level of someone that you've been with for 10, 15, 20 years.
No, but the only way I can elevate a partner is that you would actually have to help me elevate them. It would be you allowing to give up some of what you have,
Mhm.
some of that to them. That's time,
Well,
that's
time is,
space,
yeah.
that's commitment. When we are monogamous, you're getting 100% of what I have to give
Right.
in a relationship status. When I became poly, that percentage had to change a bit.
Right.
Now, somebody new coming in won't get what you get.
They can't have a commitment from you.
They're having a commitment as in like, I'm committed to you and I'm committed to her. But that's not a full commitment. That's a shared commitment.
Like I'm committed to showing up for you. I'm committed to supporting you. I'm committed to being in your space and us frequently going out.
But you can't do that 100% the time.
What?
If a day comes where both of you have something that is as equally important to you and you
Then
need
you
me to show up,
compromise.
right? So that compromise isn't 100% commitment. That compromise takes away from the commitment.
You can be committed to someone and be committed to someone else.
I agree to
Completely.
disagree.
Okay. Tell me what y'all think, because
You can't be 100%. There's always going to be a compromise.
so I'm 100% committed to being the best mother I can to Cam. I'm 100% committed to being the best mother I can to Joe. You telling me I can't be 100% committed to each of them?
You are in a world of commitment, yes. But hypothetically, if your son is in Milwaukee right now and needs you for a situation, you're going to go to him.
I'm still completely committed.
You're
to
committed to
figure out
her.
and doing the best that I can.
But there's going to be a
Absolutely.
situation where you have to leave your daughter to fend for herself. You're going to have to leave your daughter. Just saying. All right, let's get off of this because we can go deep into this rabbit hole. And I'm telling you, we agree to disagree, which I love about us.
Okay.
I'm committed to you as much as I can.
We was on hierarchy, right?
We are on hierarchy.
So yeah. So the question, like I said, is how much of your primary relationship, how much say-so does that partner have in your new relationships that you add?
Right. Because there's already kind of predestined times and things that you do. And so a lot of that has to be broken up slightly just to be able to have opportunity to grow the outside relationship. So are we in a hierarchical relationship?
We do have a primary setup.
We do have a primary setup. And will that ever change?
I don't know. It depends. It's what you want.
Yeah.
I think it's completely okay to want a primary partner. A lot of people may frown down upon it, but at the same time, the whole point of being poly is to structure things the way that you want them. So as long as anybody coming in, there's open communication and they know what you're asking from them and what your needs are from them, and they're voicing their needs and you're being honest as to whether you can meet their needs or not, it becomes an issue when you have a partner on the outside who is the relationship is being controlled by another partner that they're not even in a relationship with.
Correct. That kind of brings me back to it's hard to commit to both because then you have to make sacrifices for one.
Yeah, agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree.
But
because
that's
you are
important.
100% committed to me and you have another partner. So whatever agreements you have for her, I hope you're 100% committed to.
I'm committed.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, because you just agree with me without agreeing with me.
I'm committed. That's all I'm saying. I don't like how your voice has changed to a deeper note. You committed to me. I'm like, all right, I'm committed.
Okay. So the last one is, am I committed to doing the work?
Am I committed to doing the work is the question.
The process is not easy. It's not a flip of the switch and all of a sudden you're poly and you figure everything out and you have all the answers. It takes time. It takes growth. It takes compassion. It takes patience, especially in a relationship that's already pre-existing, and you have to completely get rid of the rules of monogamy and figure out how to make something else work for you.
I think that, and the idea of poly sounds great on paper, but it is truly difficult. It was for me, because the idea of what I thought poly was in the beginning isn't what poly truly is.
Well, it can be. It's just not what we.
No, it's not what we have. Right.
Is.
Right. Like when people ask us for advice on poly, it's like everybody's poly will look different. There's some things that we do and people say that's not going to work for me. So once you find what works for you, I'm going to do it this way. We can do it this way. How do we feel about this as a team? Is everybody okay? Is everyone happy? Am I fulfilling those needs for everyone? But you can't walk into this situation thinking like, I'm going to do the work. And the work is simply like, okay, I need to find 2 girls, or I need to find 2 guys, or I need to find 2 partners. And we just all live happily ever after, because it may work for some, but it won't work for all. And a lot of it's just personal checkups, personal check-ins. It's personal growth.
Jinx.
Double jinx.
So basically what you're saying is ask yourself, what does my poly look like?
Right.
And that's separate from your partner.
100%.
Ask yourself, what does my poly look like? For me, it's that ability to freely create friendships, companionships. I love going on dates. I love going out to eat and being able to do that regardless of the sex of the person that I'm with.
Yeah.
So, and then also having that freedom, if I do make friends and it progresses past that friends, that I make the choice as to what kind of relationship that turns into.
That's pretty much the same with me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go through the questions real quick. It's why are you being poly?
So why are you being poly? Why would you want to be poly?
Is this a band-aid for a relationship issue?
What's the background reason of being poly? Are you just trying to fix this relationship?
Mm-hmm. Are we going to be openly non-monogamous, polyamorous?
What
Will
hap-
there be a hierarchy set up?
So what happens if somebody finds out, and then how will your poly actually look when it comes to connections?
Um, what does our poly look like? Meaning what are we trying to get out of this? And are we committed to doing the work?
Figure out what you need before you try to take it to your partner.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe walking into a situation saying, hey, I think I want to be poly, and your partner saying, okay, well, what is it first and foremost? Why? But then what does it look like is so important, because you can completely turn your partner away from the idea of it because you're trying to like mold them into something that they may not be invested or interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so, hey, I don't want to ever look at another guy. Hey, I don't want to ever look at another girl. Whatever the case may be, you start to take away some things, and then you come to the end result and say, okay, if we were poly in our ideal situation, here's what it would look like for both of us being happy. That's important. Because even when you do all that, it'll still wind up changing anyways. But at least you have a foundation of what the end goal should look like at some point.
After you ask yourself those questions, you've discussed your answers with your partner, you figure out, the roadmap, like at least where you want to be, where you want to go. Now, what do you do?
Nothing.
I think the biggest thing that
you don't
do,
force it.
No.
Oh, okay.
But the first thing you do is you educate yourself.
All right, your research.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you're like, okay, now I want to be poly. You want to be poly? Let's go. Like, be poly. I was like, wait a minute, nothing. Slow down. You about to go outside tomorrow. All right, let's go find a partner.
No, you educate yourself. You read the books.
Yeah.
Find communities online groups, and every online group will not be for you, but you find ones that align with what you want, and you learn.
Yeah.
You find articles, real articles. You find podcasts that are educational and that's putting out the information. You reach out and you ask questions.
You annoy your partner with like videos on Instagram and say, what do you think about this quote? And what do you think about that quote? And how do you feel about this? Because I do that a lot.
Do you?
You stop looking at them.
I definitely did.
Thanks for communicating.
So that's the first one. Educate yourself and connect with people who are like-minded, people who you think are walking that path that you want to walk. Another thing, you want to give one before I keep going?
Let me go to my notes. Strengthen the relationship. Make sure that the foundation, because you don't want to bring another person or partners into a messy situation.
Yeah.
So maybe unpack some of the things that need to be unpacked. That means getting better with communication and comprehension. That means getting better with understanding and maybe just letting go of some stuff in the past.
Absolutely.
You may have to let go of some friends or family that just don't align to what you and your partner's goal could be. I mean, there could be some stuff in the closet that needs to come out and hey, let's just put this all out there. Everything that maybe I've done wrong or everything that you feel like you've done wrong, let's just get it out of the way so that this doesn't come back up. Right. Because the worst thing I would hate to be a partner coming into a situation saying, okay, hey, we are ready to be poly. Hey, I'm poly. This is my partner. And even if it's a separate partnership, you don't want to bring someone in and if it's just messy, like, oh, you guys are arguing again today and like you're using me as a scapegoat, and you don't want that. So I think strengthening a relationship is probably the most important thing. It's also on the reverse side of being better to your primary partner. For us was important. Learning the cues to say, okay, am I doing enough? Am I being a better person? Am I an asshole or am I not an asshole anymore? Am I trying to hear and, all those little things. It's like dive into your primary partner before you try to bring someone else in as a partner. Because if you don't, I don't think you have success.
So you're strengthening the relationship. You're doing what you can to improve your trust, security, communication. And here's the thing. Monogamy and polyamory are so different. So you're going to work on those things as much as you can. But when you start to experience the things and situations come up in polyamory, you just have to go through it.
Right.
You just have to go through it to realize, oh, I do have a security issue here. Oh, I do have a trust issue here. When we were just monogamous, I thought I was good,
Right.
but now that we're, going out and talking to other people, I realize this is an issue for me and we need to dive into this. We need to unpack this. We need to talk about this.
Right. And just unpacking doesn't mean it goes away.
No,
It
it
just means
doesn't.
that it's out there and you understand what it
You
is.
acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And if you can recognize and acknowledge an issue, it helps so much because then you're separating it from who you are. Like you're not owning it.
That's important. But that also leads me to the next situation, which just says frequent check-ins. The opportunity just to be able to come together and say, hey, let's talk about some things real quick, but also, how was I as a partner today? How was I as a partner this week? What are some things that I did that you think I've been stronger on? And what are some things that you think I could get stronger or do better on?
Yes. Check-ins are extremely important and you can space them out according to the needs of the relationship. And what's even more important than a check-in is making sure that you have that safe space.
Right.
That whatever conversation happens, whatever feelings and emotions come out, that you're not carrying it on. Like,
Right. Baggage.
Yeah. Like get it all out, leave it out on the table, say what needs to be said without fear of punishment or repercussion or making the situation worse. Learn how to listen and not to respond or argue or prove a point or be right.
I always said, talk to me with love. Like everything we should talk about should come with some form of love behind it. Even if we're having a disagreement, we should be able to air those disagreements, but in a way that says, I love you. And I'm not going to say something just to try to prove a point or poke you or do something like that. It should be spoken with love.
One of the things that I say to Joey is that we remind each other that we're on the same team and that we have the same goal. So it will never benefit me to put him down or prove him wrong or try and hurt him in any way. It won't benefit me. Like then I won't get what I need from him.
Right.
So it just doesn't work that way.
And I think for me, one of the biggest things is just knowing that we both want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we choose to be in this relationship, not one person stuck in there and like you just kind of going along for the ride or something like that. It's like I choose to be here with you and you choose to be in a situation, a relationship with me. So that choice is now saying, okay, I have an actual volunteer, not a hostage. It's big to see that and feel that, to know, okay, same goal, same plan, same steps, same ideas, same life of what we really want out of it.
Which is why those initial questions that we said at the beginning are so important.
Yeah.
Also, with your frequent questions, your frequent check-ins, I thought it was important to go through hypothetical situations.
Yeah.
So asking your partner, how do you think you would feel in this situation? Now, we are not always the best predictors of our own behavior and emotions.
Right.
However, it kind of gives you an idea of at least how your partner would want to react.
Right. And I think I do that maybe a little bit more than you. And I just think in the last situation I had where I was like, hey, if we're about to go to a gathering and I bump into somebody from my past and I feel a certain way about them, how do I acknowledge them and how does that make you feel? And we didn't even bump into anybody, but I wanted to have those hypothetical ideas and questions figured out before a scenario happened. And I'm constantly doing that. Hey, what would this feel like if I did this? Or, hypothetically, if I did this move or that move, or I went here, or I said this, what did that look like in the real world? And just to be able to have here's what I would do, or here's what I would feel, or something like that is so important.
Yes. And that's for hypothetical situations. If you have actual situations that you've been through, during the check-ins is a great time to break those down.
Yeah.
So if there was something that you've been wanting to talk about and you save it for the check-in, you can say, hey, when this happened, this is how I felt. These are the emotions that were going through me. And just kind of like break it down, ask yourself why. Well, what was going on? Was it something that your partner did that triggered you or whatever the case may be?
No, it's important, especially the check-ins has to be a safe space,
Mm-hmm.
and the check-ins need to be a space that you can say, okay, I'm just be 100% real at 100% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever it is, and
Right.
just allow it to be. Let the emotions flow through it, but also come out of it with a understanding of growth.
Next,
Next is
let's do create boundaries.
individual and connected boundaries.
Absolutely. Your boundaries should be created for yourself, by yourself. They should not be ultimatums. You saying that your partner shouldn't do this or your partner should do that. Your boundaries should pertain to you.
A lot of times people think of boundaries and it's like, well, you can't go out on tonight,
Right.
or you can't do this, or you can't. It's not about what they can't do. It's
Mm-hmm.
what you just won't allow in a way that won't hurt you. But I mean, I guess it's a very fine line, because you can technically say, hey, you can't go out tonight as a boundary, but in the real world,
No, you can't.
you can't.
No, you
You
can't.
can't
That's
be
not
like,
a boundary.
like you can't go out on Saturdays.
That's not a boundary.
I take it as a boundary.
You shouldn't.
I don't go out on Saturdays because you said you'd like to have Sundays be connected. And
I
if,
can tell you what I like.
I understand that. And what, by me going out on Saturdays, you feel disconnected on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So you can tell me what you like, and I have to hear what you like.
Yeah, but you don't have to abide by it.
Yeah, but it won't make a better day.
And that's your choice.
But I have to then make sacrifices.
That's your choice.
So that's a boundary in my world.
That's your choice.
Of course. You can debate me all day long.
But your boundaries should pertain to you, not telling your partner what they cannot do.
Yeah.
And boundaries are so important. They're not just don't do that, don't do that. Boundaries allow you to take things slow. Boundaries are like, I don't want to participate in this yet, or I'd like to ease myself into being around you and another person. I'm
Right.
not ready to meet other people, your other partners yet. I'd like
Right.
to take this slow.
Right. And
know?
boundaries also may say, this is as far as I can go.
Exactly.
There may not be more growth past that, not in a bad way, but it may say, this is how much I can handle.
Right.
You know, and even you can say, well, in 5 years from now, maybe I handle more, but it may be in 5 years from now, I'm safe here. I feel better here. I don't want to go past this point. So, I mean, there's just a boundary could be set forever, or boundary could be flexible and says, okay, after some time, hey, my boundaries have changed a little bit. So there's opportunity for them to be molded for safety, for comfort.
And of course, like you said, safety, when it comes to sex, boundaries as far as protection and what you like and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Voice your preferences. I have a preference that I spend Saturday evenings with you. That is my preference. Now, what you do with that is up to you.
I get it. And in a world of perfection, I'm available 100% of the time to everybody that needs me when they need me at the right times. And so you prefer me on a Saturday night to connect with you, so that way on Sunday, which is realistically our calm day of just connecting and more of a softing, connecting.
We kind of flow into Sunday.
Correct.
I know how I connect with you.
Yeah.
And I know what I need from you to have a good day.
Yeah.
So I do request Saturday evening and Sunday.
Yeah.
And the rest, what you do those other days and Saturday during the day is your business.
I work. No, it's not like I'm going to be somewhere sad.
I ain't got you.
Yeah, not yet. What else you got?
Okay, so I said voice preferences. That goes along with creating your boundaries. Another one is get a therapist.
Yeah. It's so important to have therapy. And even if, like me lately, I've been doing once a month, which feels really just natural and organic, because I can just kind of put some stuff down and come to you, not to you, but to her with just, here's what I've done this month.
Yeah.
But find a therapist, find timing that works for you. For some people it's daily, for some people it's weekly, and for some people it's monthly or every few months. Find it. And it's important to have an individual therapist just as much as just important to sometimes to have a couple.
The individual therapy is extremely important. And I'm actually looking for a therapist. I've been searching And it's just hard to pick because it's like buying a book.
Yeah.
You don't really know.
No.
I mean, they offer you that 15-minute consultation, but you don't know until you're actually in a session or two with them.
You want to do like a therapy, like roundtable session, like, and talk to me for 50 minutes. Next, come on in. And that next therapist comes in.
I don't know. It's just, that's how I felt when I was looking. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like I was buying a book or buying a product.
Well, so then you got to go by what feels marketable to you. And so you have to figure out, okay, is that a woman? Is that a man? Is that a color? Is that a race? Is that a gender?
Well, see, I like your therapist, so I feel like race doesn't even matter.
No, and that's surprising for me because I felt like I needed, if you go back to our episode where we had with a therapist, I thought I needed an older Black woman to tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have completely the opposite of that.
I think we got one more.
So learn how to date.
Yes.
And date each other. Prepare for NRE.
Learn how to date. Every person you meet does not have to be a sexual relationship. Every person you meet does not have to be a relationship. Learn how to have friends.
Yeah.
Learn how to just be around people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything.
I used to have friendships that had sexual connections to it, and I hated the sexual connections, but I felt like it was like normal. And so there's friendships that I have now or I don't have anymore. They're like, man, I wish we never crossed a certain boundary. I wish we knew how to just be friends and date and have connections and didn't lead to sex. And there's the opposite of, there's some people I've never slept with. I'm like, I wonder if I had a better connection with them if I slept with them. So there's definitely a fine line. I didn't know who I was as a younger person. I didn't know how to date. There's scenarios and worlds where dating is like finite. Like you date someone and then you're together and then you're married.
Exactly.
Right? Like you're constantly in this like mode of like, how do I date? And you date for a purpose. What if you're just dating for friendships?
Trash the escalator.
Yeah.
You are not getting into a relationship with everybody you meet. Everybody you meet is not a potential partner.
Right. And that's something I had to learn as a partner to you. Like, I'm like, okay, I met a female and let me try to fast track this to see if this is somebody that should be in our lives. And I'm like, why can't I just have friends?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't it just be new relationship energy? And why can't that energy just kind of be that energy, not something that has to grow into something else?
Right. And learn what new relationship energy is so that you can prepare for it when you see it in your partner and when you experience it yourself.
Yeah.
It's that falling head over heels, falling in love.
Yeah.
And just all over a person in the beginning.
I always say, like, with new relationship energy for me, I jumping off the bridge without a bungee cord, but I don't realize that you actually put a cord around my ankle and you pull me back up when I'm like, oh crap, I jumped too fast, and you pull me back in. I mean, that's the thing about new relationship energy. You can get so lost in it and not realize, like, oh man, I'm not making smart choices here, and
and you're overlooking flags.
Sometimes going through boundaries. Sometimes just not being the person that you agreed to be and the person that you want to be. And so oftentimes with new relationship energy, especially in the world of poly, someone's going to say, hey, I'm poly, or I want to join poly, or it's like, okay, now you get to date people. Be careful because you're going to fall head over heels for the first person and a second person and a third, because this flood of energy that comes and it's like, oh, I have the freedom to be here and I'm okay being here. And it's like, it's addictive. It is. It's crazy addictive.
Another thing I would say is just remember that it gets easier and you start having fun when you start doing it right.
Correct.
And you and your partner are enjoying each other. I felt like the more we enjoyed each other, the more we were able to enjoy other relationships.
Yeah, because you felt more whole and you weren't out looking for something.
You weren't trying to fill a hole or anything like that.
You're just
or avoid.
adding. You're just like, oh, okay, I'm pretty full, but sure, like we can talk. Like, you know what I mean? Versus like, man, I'm empty. Can you fill me up with more of whatever you're going to give me at this point?
Right. You got any additional ones you want to add?
Somebody comes to me and asks me, hey, we're considering poly, and things that we already discussed. I think we hit pretty much almost every facet of it. But at the end of the day, it really just comes down to your own personal journey.
Yes.
It comes down to what truly makes you happy. And if poly makes you happy, then really dive into it and listen to what we said about some of the things about studying it and really realizing what your end goal is. Don't jump into it just to do it and see if it's like, I wonder if I can have sex with more people, or I wonder if I can date people, or I want to be like something that I see online. Like, none of that stuff is real. Do it for the realization that, hey, I can find more happiness with more people. And if that truly is the goal, and you can set aside some of the emotions and some of the baggage that you're bringing, then you have the opportunity to really grow into a great relationship.
I would say that you're going to do what you want to do. You know, if you decide that this is what you want, go for it. Do the work. Be considerate about it. Be ethical with it. Whether you're already in a relationship or not. There's probably a lot of things that we still didn't mention. So if anything comes to mind, definitely put it in the comments.
Right.
And that way people can go there and still receive more information. And if we get a bunch of stuff,
Right.
enough to do another episode, we'll definitely do another episode.
Because there's so many different styles that we haven't talked about, attachment styles and things of that nature, and how people attach to you and how do you attach, and what is
your emotional intelligence. Yeah.
Right.
Polyamory brings out, it's so funny because people will say, oh, she's polyamory, she must have low self-esteem or low confidence or something. And it requires that if you want to be good at it, like, you don't have to, you can be in any relationship and have low self-esteem, low confidence.
Right.
But if you want to be successful and happy and content in polyamory, you have to level yourself up.
Any relationship, including poly, though. Every relationship needs to level up.
You can hide things in monogamy. You can hide, absolutely. Your partner can't look at nobody else. Your partner ain't texting nobody else. Your partner can't text nobody else. Your partner ain't supposed to be DMing nobody else. You don't have to. You can hide so much in monogamy.
You wind up not being true to yourself.
No shit.
And you're cheating and you're not happy. So like, you got to level up there. It's not real, then you're not really happy.
That's the problem.
Why be in a relationship when you're truly not happy, or why be in a relationship when your partner's not truly happy?
If you have more to add to that, please do. Whatever advice, tips, tricks, whatever you want to call it, put it in the comments so people can find them there. We will add more to this if we get enough of them.
How do you poly? And why do you poly?
How do you do it the right way?
There's no right way.
There is no right way.
What if the true best way of poly is the way that you actually make it on the moments that you're with your partner?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
And connect with us on social media. You can find our links in the description.